Welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. This is my perennial garden where I do have a few annual things that are frost tolerant, but unfortunately our temperatures here in southwestern Kentucky are up and down, and for most of these seedlings' lives it's been very balmy. We even had a 70-degree day a couple weeks ago. They have survived this cold snap that we are entering into better than I thought they would, especially this broccoli here. I mean, it was 17 degrees last night and they look really good. Now, some of the cabbages look a little less happy, but I did get some frost fabric. I wasn't gonna worry about this because of how low the temperatures were going to get. I just figured that it was a lost cause. But when I saw on the forecast that we were scheduled to get snow, I decided that this would be worth it because I can lay this frost fabric over, and whatever sunlight does happen to peek out throughout the clouds today will go through and help retain heat underneath of it for these plants. But also when it snows later, we're supposed to get anywhere from about 4 to 6 inches of snow that will pile on top of this and actually insulate the plants. And so there's a little bit of hope, so I decided that I would go for it. I got this fabric from Grower Solution. I looked online, like on Amazon and stuff, for some frost fabric, and they had some options, but the shipping times were actually quite long, and Grower Solution is only the next state over. Usually when they ship something out, I receive it the next day, so this came in plenty of time, so I'm happy about that. One of the issues that I have with cloths like this is we do get a lot of wind, so I'm going to secure this down pretty well and hope that the wind agrees with me today. I might actually start on the other end and then move this way to work with the wind. And if you've been following me for any length of time, I'm sure you've noticed in the background of my videos that I have quite a lot of things laying around. Just sort of a messy person, I guess, but it does come in handy because I've got plenty of things to weigh down that fabric, to include logs from the Bradford pear that my husband cut down. This tree was big and beautiful, and I really did like the looks of it, but it's one of those things that it's an invasive species, and I've talked a little bit about invasive species on my channel before. I don't necessarily think that all invasive species are bad. Believe it or not, did you know honeybees are technically an invasive species? Anyways, I digress. I do have some logs here, and this will help a lot. Okay, now time will tell. One of the reasons I didn't just throw across like a tarp, or I have a lot of drop cloths here, my husband has a lot of drop cloths because he does home remodel, is we're going to be having these temperatures for several days on end. Some of the daytime temps don't come up above 20 degrees. So I was hoping to just cover them and leave it so they wouldn't have to go through that whole routine every day of covering them during the heat of the day so that they would be warm-ish at night, and then uncover them in the morning so that they could get whatever sun they could get. It's just a lot of work, and I'm not sure that this is gonna work anyway, so I'd like to just do it once and then say a prayer and see what happens. These frost fabrics allow through about 70% of the sunlight, so I'm able to leave this on here and they'll still get a good amount of light. Good morning. So truthfully, I'm really not a morning person, but in the last little bit I've found myself waking up around 5:30 and then just kind of laying there for 2 hours, which is really not productive. So I'm trying to make the habit again, like I have to do in summertime, of actually getting up somewhat early so I can get a few more things done. In the wintertime I can get away with being a little bit more lazy because there's a lot less to do. Now, we did get a lot of snow last night. We are going to go out there and look at that, plus visit with the baby goats, but I have some bread that I want to set up, and you can probably see I have a giant wheel of cheese here in the background. This is the first cheese that I have made this year. It is a Colby. It's my favorite cheese to make. It's quite hefty. I was very surprised. I think later we're going to vacuum seal this up and put it in the cheese cave. I do need to flip it though. Part of the process of curing the cheese is to leave it out at room temp and allow the outside edge to dry up, or the outside like crust, the rind to dry out, and the bottom still has a little bit of weight on it, so I'm just going to flip it and then we can weigh this later. I think easily my favorite way to warm up the house on a cold morning or cold days in general is to just use it as an excuse to cook. We live in a very small house. When we bought it, it said it was like 1,140 square feet. We live in a double wide, and if you take the outside measurements of the double wide, it's 25 by 40, and that, if you do the math, adds up to 1,140, something like that, square feet. But that's the outside measurement. It doesn't include the walls. It doesn't include the cabinetry and things. And so we live in about less than 1,000 square feet. Very, very small. And so it does not take much to heat it up with cooking. You will hear a lot of people say that you shouldn't sourdough close to your cheese. A lot of times I don't get a choice. I made this same sourdough bread next to this same cheese all last year, and like cross-culturing was never an issue. I guess the concern is that some of the yeast could get over here and contaminate the cheese. So far it hasn't happened. Before we started homesteading, I would hear stories of people who grew up with a mother that baked bread every day. And I was like, goodness, so this lady spent hours in the kitchen just for their bread every day. Truthfully, like, this process does take hours, but it's a very, very little hands-on time, especially when you get used to the process, you get in the rhythm. It goes very quickly, and I can set up a loaf very simply in the evenings and just do this process in the mornings and get it in the oven, and it really takes very little effort for me at this point. Now, in the beginning, it was a lot of more like mental energy that had to be spent on it, but like I said, I've got the routine down now. And I do not make bread every day. I do this probably 2 to 3 times a week. Good morning, sir. Are you just in love with the snow? Something I noticed is that snow did not settle on the greenhouse, and it normally does, so it must have retained enough heat to just melt it as it landed, which is interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that. Oh, there's a Chetty. Good morning. Oh goodness. Is it cold? Hi, baby. He said, pick me up. I don't know what's happening. The cats, the outside cats, it's not necessary, but they do have a little hidey hole that's heated, and he's good and warm. Speaking of cats, yesterday I did not want to say it out loud because I didn't want to will it into existence, but I was really surprised that no cats came along while I was putting the frost fabric on in order to just jump on the fabric. And they didn't while we were out there, but I came out later and there's a whole bunch of little holes and things in the frost fabric from a cat jumping on it. So I did what I could to kind of patch it up. Really, the goal with this was to just create a ceiling for the snow so that the snow could insulate the plants, and looks like so far so good. Oh, it's okay, bunnies. Looks like we did have some snow drift into here. There, you stay up here. I'm gonna go see the goats. I'll get you some water too. I'm coming. Oh, look, pregnant mama stole the heat lamp. Can't say I blame you. Good morning. Down here we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Everyone's present and accounted for. Bouncy, we like to see it. Hey, sweetie. Hi, Winnie. Yes, I see you too. Yeah, let me see you. You're a good girl. Aunt Winnie. Tori was just now nursing Ilara's baby. That's been happening. I don't really mind as long as the babies are fed. It's okay. I haven't been putting the babies away at night, and I don't always. These guys aren't really old enough anyway, but a lot of times because we have so many goats that give birth, I don't have to separate the babies at night. Elsa here is nursing triplets, and she's giving me more than a half gallon a day alongside of her triplets. Plus I have the goats that kidded in fall time that have already weaned their babies. So I'm getting about 1.25 gallons to 1.5 gallons of milk every day with the babies on. And honestly, at this point in the year, that's plenty. I'm still able to make things like that cheese. Let's pack up this cheese. So I'm gonna weigh it. This scale goes up to 10 pounds. I think it should be fine. I don't think this is a 10-pound wheel, but it's one of the bigger wheels, if not the biggest wheel that I've ever made. I've never maxed out the large cheese mold that I have, and this one did. Almost 8 pounds. So as far as volume of milk to volume of cheese, usually in past years I have gotten 1 pound of cheese per gallon of milk when I make cheese, but this entire thing was made with about 6 gallons of milk. I got this plus like a large mass of curds. I'll put a picture in here so that you guys can see. This was the biggest yield that I have ever had, and I'm guessing it's my mini La Manchas coming into the mix and coming into the pail. That's very exciting. I've not casein tested a lot of my goats, but I will be casein testing more of them coming up here soon. Looks perfect on the inside. Colby cheese has this pattern on the inside of bubbles. And it smells good right now, but as it ages, it's gonna acidify some more and really develop a good flavor and a great texture. Oh, I just love it. I don't think my vacuum seal bags can handle half a wheel. Not for this cheese. Normally I can, but I think I'm gonna split them up into quarters. Home cheese making can be very intimidating. There's a lot of different ways to achieve the same result. I like to direct salt my cheese right now, which means that I just add salt to the curd before pressing. And that's really simple. You'll see a lot of people that have like a brine that they use, and they have to keep the brine a certain salinity, and the brine has to be a certain temperature. It's just another thing to babysit. Some people will wax their cheeses. I don't do that. I just vacuum seal them. It's really one of those things where you could get really pure and technical about it, but you don't have to get a really nice product. I do have a video on how exactly we make this cheese using our goat's milk, and I'll link it down below. Now it might be kind of hard to tell what's going on down here. This is a little wine fridge that I have. I actually originally bought it for storing my kombucha. I found that when I stored kombucha at regular fridge temp that it lost some of its bubbles, and I was reading that storing it at a higher temperature would help, but also my regular home refrigerator can't be at a higher temp or the food inside would go bad faster. So I get to set this higher than a regular refrigerator. And because this is vac packed, I don't need to have a certain humidity going on inside the cheese fridge. I just worry about temperature. Good morning. So this is one of the 2 cold mornings that we're gonna have. It was 8 degrees this morning, feels like a -3 with the wind chill, and my goats have been really going through the hay. I think partially because they've got a lot of babies to feed now. I mean, once the babies are born, the mamas still have to grow them with their milk, so they do a lot of eating. Plus, they do a lot of eating while they're trying to stay warm. So I'm coming out to check on the babies. I did look at them on the camera that I have. They're bouncing around and happy, but I like to come down anyway and feed that hay, make sure everyone is okay. I have this rabbit here that was due to kindle yesterday. Yesterday was her due date. So far no babies. She does have a nice nest. It would not be unusual for this year for her not to have gotten pregnant. It's been kind of a thing with our rabbits, but it's all right. Good morning, girls and boys. It's very warm in the barn. Even just getting out of the wind chill is really nice. They do have some hay up there and some hay over there. So maybe we're good for now. Breakfast going on. Yeah, and they've got hay out here. I think we're okay. Everyone looks real good. You look cozy. Chloe's doing well. I need to get her water filled up. The goats are doing well. We just have one more day of these super cold temperatures, and then I think that this is it for the season. I think this is the last super cold dip. Not that we won't have any more frosts or freezes, because we absolutely will, but we usually are pretty good most of the year. January is normally our cold month. February, usually we're starting to warm up. But this February threw a curveball at us, so I hope everybody else is staying warm as you can. It's cold, not only here in southwestern Kentucky, but there's a big bubble of cold in the middle of the United States. I was talking to a couple people who subscribe from Australia, and they said it was 45 Celsius, which is really hot. So it's just crazy how different things can be across the world. But I did come up with names for all of the baby goats, and they're not all on the ground yet. I still have a couple to kid. Talia's gonna kid March 1st. And then Clover, she's due to kid February 28th. But for all the kids running around, they do have names. And I think I'll go over those in the next video. I'll see you there.